Hi. This may be a little too close up, so we'll see if I post this or not. I wanted to talk about loss and to just whisper about it, which might seem strange to combine ASMR and loss, but I've had a request for that. And since it's very personal, I'm going to look directly into the camera as much as I can and just talk about it. My hair's a little bit wild today, and I hope that's not distracting. I only have the house to myself for a while and wanted to talk to you. So I'm going ahead with it. I have wild curly hair, so I'm just going to let it be. Loss. That's something we're all going to deal with at some point in our lives if we keep on living. And I think that was the first real surprise realization I had when I lost my mother, probably about 7 years ago now. And it was, she had Alzheimer's, and she had some strokes, and she died pretty young for nowadays terms, about 76. So we were relieved on one hand, but there is this strange hole that is left behind when people die, and it's so final. And I think until you have that first close person pass away or die, or whatever word you prefer, transition, it's a shock to the system, and it's a surprise, and you just don't expect to feel this loss that is such a deep sensation. So, and then I had a series of them that caught me a little bit off guard, but I realized that most of us are going to have that in our lives if we continue to live. You're going to lose people, and it's going to be kind of a natural thing to lose people if you keep living. So one of the things I've found useful is to just allow whatever emotions come and not judge them. And sometimes this is easier than others. And if you find that you're someone who needs to stay busy during the loss, or someone who needs to sit with it and go into it, I don't think that there's a right or wrong. Personally, I don't think that there's a right or wrong way to respond to it. And I think usually if you notice that you're completely avoiding it, that's a time when you need to take a look at that. But if you are conscious that you're avoiding it for a time to cope, and until you have time to grieve it, generally life will bring you a proper time to grieve. For me, I had some depression after my mother died, and I wasn't expecting it because we were very different. And the way she died, I thought it was going to just be relief that I would feel for a long time. But the truth is, there were lots of feelings that I felt after that. And, the 7 stages of grief or whatever. And with some loss, I haven't gone through all of those stages, and with others I have. But what I find is that the body and the psyche kind of process when they're ready. And you can't really force it to be ready when it's not. And sometimes it's hard for the body and the mind to even understand that somebody has died, and you just kind of don't get it for a while. And then there are other times where you feel it so deeply and so heavily that you can't stop the emotion from processing. And again, my response is both of those are perfectly acceptable, and that you just have to allow yourself to experience what you experience. Mine came, I just couldn't grieve my mother's loss properly. I kept feeling depression and sadness and thinking about her at the end. And then after a couple of years, I started to remember more the feisty woman that she was when she was alive, and more fond memories came, and frustrating memories. I'm not one who believes that if they came back that I would be totally different and have a totally different relationship with them, but there's still that wishing that you could call them or share something with them that is sometimes difficult. And if you've lost someone to suicide, I lost a very dear friend, a very close friend to suicide just over a year ago. And that can come with its own set of struggle and baggage and stories. I think most people that I know who've dealt with that, with any kind of death really, there are those regrets. And I think no matter how much you love someone and live, enjoy them, and experience life with them, you're going to feel some regrets when they go. So I try not to beat myself up too much about those regrets and know that they're normal and that just about everybody has them. I'm holding the camera myself. I hope that that's all right. Again, I keep getting away from the story of my mother for some reason, but I was in a play, Broadway bound, where the woman is dealing with, I played Kate, who's the mother. It's the third trilogy of Neil Simon's, and Broadway bound is the final one where the boys leave home. And Kate, I feel like that play is a lot about her, and her husband is having an affair. And so she's dealing with a lot of loss all at once. And it was kind of beautiful because I played, it was a summer of repertory theater, so I was doing a couple of shows, but that role allowed me to mourn a lot on stage. I had to go through a lot of mourning with the boys leaving and with the loss of my husband, my stage husband. And there was something about that, being able to find those tears on stage. She's one who holds them back a bit, but I still had to process them to some extent. And something about that opportunity allowed me to work through the mourning of my mother, which was really beautiful. And since that time, what I'm finding, which may or may not be true for you or helpful to you, is that every situation of loss is different, and that I can't judge how I respond to the loss, whether I feel it immediately or whether I hardly notice it. The psyche is doing what it needs to protect and to prepare for survival and life. And if you want to get counseling, get counseling. If you want to do group therapy, do group therapy. I did some of that after the suicide. I did some group therapy, and that was useful. But I think for some people, it's not the answer. If you notice that you're stuck in a black hole for a long time, then I encourage you to get help and talk about it. Find people you can talk about it with, because not talking about it at all can, I think, whack out the psyche a little bit. So finding people who are comfortable talking about loss or who have been through it, they are often more able to hear it from you and discuss it and allow you to just process it and be in it. So really, all I'm saying is give yourself permission to feel whatever you're feeling. Anger, sadness, depression, relief. Those are all pretty normal responses. And if you've been caretaking someone for a long time, there can be a lot of guilt around feeling relieved and not having to caretake. And know that that's normal from my reading and my experiences. It's pretty normal to feel guilty that you're feeling relief at not having to caretake And for other people, if your life has been caretaking 24/7, it can also be more difficult because you feel like, oh, I don't get to caretake anymore. Who am I? What am I? And this identity crisis maybe a little bit ensues. So anyway, I hope that this is helpful, really. All I'm saying is give yourself permission to feel and to process, and to give others permission to feel and process differently than you, because the loss affects them all differently. And even somebody who may appear not to be affected at all by the loss, chances are it's just affecting them differently. They're thinking about it. It's very private to them, personal. And for other people, they want to be very public about it and have everyone know, and somehow that eases the burden, but to not judge others for experiencing it differently. So I hope that that's helpful. That's my little discussion, chat on loss. And if anybody out there is in loss right now, then my heart and my thoughts go out to you. And I hope that you won't judge yourself for whatever way you are experiencing it. Okay. I want to say pleasant dreams, but that might seem odd after a discussion on loss. So how about you rest whatever way you want and need, and I will be back soon. And it's okay to be happy and find moments of joy even after you've had loss. So know that that's all right too. All right? Have a great night.